Today I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an update on this greenhouse. There's been a few questions that keep coming up, so I might as well address them in this video. And I just wanted to give you an update of how things are going in our other greenhouse and how it's looking for winter. So I'm in the greenhouse right now. The plastic's up. Don't have the blower running on it yet. I've got an electrician coming hopefully this week that's going to do my wiring. I'm going to be running electrical from my house in here, and that's going to power the heater that is going to be mounted up here somewhere, as well as the circulation fans, and it will also power the blower. And there's been a number of questions regarding the way the plastic is connected, particularly one that keeps coming up is how the plastic is connected on the ends. Everybody's asking about how the channel lock is connected on the ends. And it's really no different here than it is here, except you're drilling into steel. So channel lock on the ends is just drilled in to the last purlin. And so I always like to do it as one piece, as big as I can get. So usually when I buy these channel locks, they come in 24-foot lengths. So what I do is I lay them out on the ground, measure the halfway point and just mark that with a felt. And then I take it up to the top, and I've got a picture here of me doing it. Take it to the top, take a couple clamps, clamp it on, get it secured in the middle, and then just start drilling down the middle with self-tapping screws. And then you just keep pulling it down, and it bends to the curvature of the greenhouse, and you just keep drilling it in. And so where it gets a little bit nebulous is on the side. So the main channel piece comes all the way down to here, and then I just have to cut another piece. There's a little gap in there, and then down to the bottom. So it's not complicated, it's simple. It's a lot of drilling though. What I did this time, opposed to in the past, is I pre-drilled my holes. So I just pre-drilled 1/8 holes in all the channel lock and the purlin, but I still used the self-tapping screw to go through. That way it was a little easier when I was up there to just set them in place. So that was before. I just go straight self-tapping screw through the channel lock and then through the steel, and I actually burned through a lot of self-tapping screws doing it that way. So I've built enough greenhouses now that I just prefer to pre-drill. So that's the channel lock. Another question that people are asking a lot about is just how things are fastened, and it's just a lot of bolts, you know. It's so here we are on the inside. This is my custom weld. I showed this to you guys in a previous vlog a few videos ago, and it's just a lot of machine bolts and nuts through there. On the outside, anything that's near the plastic, it's always a carriage bolt, so it's rounded on the ends. Anything in there, like out here, is rounded. Anything on the outside here is rounded, so you don't want to have any edges touching the plastic. Anytime I had channel lock like this, where there's an edge, we've taped up those edges to keep the plastic from tearing over time. And you know, that's pretty much it. I mean, this design was still not perfect. There's even some design flaws right now that we're gonna fix once it's up. But we got it up. It works. I'm pretty stoked actually, because I wouldn't have been able to get a kit that had the dimensions that I wanted with this greenhouse. Like, I wanted to have something that was around 24 feet wide. And usually the rule of thumb with greenhouses is the center height of the greenhouse is half the width. So that was a logistical challenge for me, because if I wanted a 24-foot wide greenhouse, this greenhouse is actually 23 feet wide. If I wanted a 24-foot wide greenhouse, it means it would have had to have been 12 feet tall. And that was a problem for me, just because the fact that I have my nursery here. And my top center point here where the roof meets the poly is 10.5 feet. So I didn't want to have anything taller than that, because then it's going to cast too much shade down below. And you can even see how at this time of year, as we approach the winter solstice, I've got shade in here. So that is going to mean that my basil bed is no longer going to get direct light. And I know that's going to be an issue. So I'm kind of thinking about putting some supplemental light on it. I've had a number of people ask, hey, why don't you do that? And I might do it. I mean, I could easily just hang, you know, I even started to, I had shelves on here before, but I could easily just run some 2x4s along here and hang some grow lights in here. I've got lots of grow lights. So I might do that. So far, this basil bed has been very profitable. We've been picking $120 of basil off this bed a week, and we've been harvesting this for a number of weeks now, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. So it's already made its money. I would like to push it further into the season. The one problem that's happening now, because of the lack of direct light that it's getting, is it's not as green. I mean, it's not photosynthesizing as much, right? So it's not as green as I'd like it to be. So that's one thing. I've also been thinking about experimenting with having some kind of reflectors up there. I was thinking of getting a round, like a sort of rounded piece of, and I'd be interested to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I always like to, I love getting feedback from you guys, because I know there's some engineers out there, people who follow the channel who have experimented with stuff like this. But I know there's a material called Mylar, which is a reflective plastic, sticky thing you can stick onto stuff. So I was thinking about getting some wide tubing of maybe PVC, cutting it in chunks and getting just like a slight shaped quarter circle perhaps, and then mounting it up on the top part of my greenhouse with Mylar and seeing if that can actually reflect light. Thought it'd be kind of a neat experiment. And I was even thinking about doing it in this greenhouse as well. Out here, because of my urban environment, I'm always limited by shade structures, and this is one of the things that is constantly a challenge with the urban farm. And so you can even see right here in the greenhouse, my little 2 sheds that are back there cast shadow along here. So I was even thinking about trying some reflective material up here and maybe the center ridge pole and reflecting some light back down here. I don't know, have any of you guys experimented with that? Have any of you tried that? I've always thought about it, but I've never really tried it, so I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it. So even though this greenhouse isn't totally closed in, it's still doing better than it was when we didn't have the plastic on here. You can see my lettuce is actually growing a lot better now. We've had so much rain in the last 2 weeks that's really cooled the soil down and stunted growth. So getting at that break from the rain has really allowed it to get ahead and grow. There's so much moisture in this soil. It's still like, even when I walk on these paths, I can feel myself sinking in. That's why these beds look so raised up. Like, they weren't raised intentionally. It's just from the walking in the footpaths. And in a way, that's a good thing. Like, having a raised bed, especially in the winter in my climate, is an advantage, because it allows that cold air to roll down somewhere, so it keeps the soil on the beds warmer. So to close this greenhouse up, all we're going to do is, well, I'm going to frame it in. I'm going to, with 2x4s, strapping to the top purlin, make some some pieces of wood that come down. I'll frame in a door, and then, once I create a simple frame, we just put another layer of poly in this same channel lock here. So usually these channel locks you can put a total of 4 pieces of poly into. So I've got a separate roll of poly, which is right over there, that once I have my frames up, we'll roll that stuff out, and then we'll just channel into this same channel and wiggle wire here, and then just close up this area. And I'll have to put channel lock on the arches, or the beams that are going to be in there. We'll have to channel lock those, wiggle wire the plastic in, and then that will close it up. So there's still quite a bit of work to do on this greenhouse, but it's been kind of nice to just take a break from it the last couple days, because I've been chipping away at it and just dealing with the rain and working in the rain, and it's been kind of miserable. But beautiful day today, so that's hopefully gonna happen throughout this coming week. So I just got a little present, got a visit from my buddy Brian Callow from What the Fungus Mushrooms. Him and I have been doing a little vegetable trade for mushrooms, and I got some real goodies here. I'm going to show you guys. Pretty wicked variety of stuff here. Brian and I do this from time to time, just trade veggies for mushrooms. He just comes in and drops them off more for me, and I leave the vegetables for him. He does some deliveries in town, so he comes and does that. So pretty stoked to be able to have this like incredibly gourmet stuff. One of the great things about being a farmer is when you can trade like that, you can get things that you normally wouldn't have access to. You can't buy things like this in the stores here. You know, health regulations and stuff like that keep growers like Brian from being able to sell in the stores, which is a tragedy. But it's nice to be able to benefit from it when you're a farmer that's connected to other growers. That's my Saturday today, guys. I'm just gonna spend the rest of the day doing some cleanup in here. I'm gonna try and wire together my new walk-in cooler. Not new, but putting it in here for the winter. I'm gonna wire that up. Just do a few errands around the house. Pretty low-key weekend. Sunday I'm going to take a day off. I always try to take a day off on Sunday. I think it's important for all growers or people, especially entrepreneurs, to at least take one day off a week so that you can get away from work, get some perspective on your work. If you're doing what you love, it's nice to have that time off so you can do something else and come back fresh the next day. So I always try to take some time off then. So we will see you soon. Okay.